What is going on, you guys? Let me touch those thighs. AK-40 Kevin here in the gamer heaven. So we finally got ourselves a little bit of an update around Dead Matter. It's been kind of radio silence over there, and we haven't heard a whole hell of a lot from the dev team at all since that major launch flop of the alpha. The closed alpha was an absolute shit show. It made Cyberpunk 2077 look like an absolute polished gem the way it was released. Not just the game being utterly unplayable, but the fact they couldn't even get keys out to the backers that spent money on their closed alpha, and they couldn't even get access to play the game for months. Some of them still don't have keys, and it's like 6 months after that drop. The game itself, at its core, seems like it's going to be really good. It's a mixture of Escape from Tarkov, DayZ, and a lot of its own original ideas. That's why I was originally very excited for this game. You know, at its core, it seems very, very interesting, and when implemented correctly, if it ever does launch successfully, it's going to be a really fun game. I do still stand behind my original statement that I think it's like Tarkov with zombies. You have this great weapons handling mechanic, you have an inventory system, you have vehicles, you have there's really nothing out there that really competes with DayZ in that space in like open world shooter RPGs like DayZ, Rust kind of thing. There's really nothing that has like a cool zombie story behind it. Open world, you can play with your friends. There's PvP in case you want to, peek out and clap people up. So I'm really excited for it, but we finally got an update. This came out 5 days ago, and I want to cover a little bit about what they talk about. So first off, we're just going to jump right in by saying that they do now have a physical studio, so that's awesome. They've been working remotely this entire time on the game. They now have a physical studio. Now, what this means, in my opinion, is that they actually have their dev team under one roof where they're going to be able to communicate ideas and spitball ideas, not to mention they probably have better equipment in this professional office rather than what they were working from at home. And I think that's great. Just being in an office, their workflow is going to increase. So it's actually, they're moving their Canadian staff to Calgary, which is actually where the game is placed. So they're actually going to be able to drive around the environments. It says hop into a car and take reference shots of real-life Alberta towns such as Canmore, Banff, Deadman's Flats, and many other small towns, including the city of Calgary itself, which is awesome that they're actually putting their physical studio where the game is being set at. So that way they can take pictures of the environments and get it true to life. So this is a picture of their studio here. Not the prettiest thing in the world. It's got a little neon open sign here. Kind of looks like a little 2-star lodge or something where you'd go and get tetanus. Don't know what the picture of the trees has to do anything with the game. So this is the inside of their studio here. Not huge, not overwhelming or anything. This, if you've looked at game development studios in the past, this isn't really anything crazy here. A couple single monitors over here. You have a more dedicated station right here. 3 32-inch Jesus monitors right here. Can't see what's inside the mid ATX tower here, but I'm assuming just this is a dedicated dev kit. And then you have a larger ultra wide 16:9 ultra wide over here, which, as this is just a small indie game, this isn't like Blizzard or Activision or anything. It's Quantum Integrity Software, which is a small indie company. But anyway, I think having a physical studio is a great step in the right direction. So zombies are now on a new system where they're going to spawn into these quadrants here. So individual sections, meaning you can clear out a specific section, and that way you're not getting swarmed by zombies that come down from the mountains. Like, how would they even be able to sense you from 3 miles away? They just sniff your flesh and come down from the fucking mountaintops and swarm you. That's not probably how that would work. Yes, they're going to be drawn to sound and whatnot, but they're going to have these individuals, invisible cubes or quadrants where zombies are technically going to stick to these zones, which I think is smart. That way, if you clear out a zone, you have time to loot, set up base and whatnot. You're not just getting constantly swarmed by zombies. Yes, that does take away from a little bit of the open world intensity, but I think it's a step in the right direction. So this upcoming patch is going to be called 0.6.0. People are just referring to it as patch 0. This is awesome. There's also new behavior for zombies. So as you see, not only does the character model look like he's running a lot more fluid and smooth than previous gameplay footage we've seen, but the zombie itself looks much more ferocious, much more realistic. I mean, it's hard to use the word realistic when talking about a fictitious thing like zombies, but from what we've seen in media, movies, and games and stuff like that, previous gameplay demos, if you guys remember, the zombies would have to stop and stand in place before they could slash at you, which is stupid. Now they can be, mid-stride and be clawing at you, which I think is really cool. They also get aggroed a lot more actively to where they're going to chase you down. Like, this thing's running up a ramp, it's sticking on you, it's dropping down off this little lip right here, and they just look a little bit more aggressive and realistic. Now they can lurch at you or like jump out at you. Obviously they can't jump like 15 feet or anything like that, like the Warzone Halloween event we had where zombies could jump like 30 feet in the air. But they can jump at you, you know, a few feet to try and grab you and stuff like that. So they're just a little more realistic and aggressive. They also changed the way that vehicles work when you run into the environments. And so when you smack into doors and containers and stuff like that, it'll react realistically instead of just having vehicles bounce around like goddamn bumper cars. You know, there was a lot of really weird physics in the closed alpha from what I've seen. I did not purchase a key to the closed alpha. I was so close that I'm so glad I didn't, just because it's not nearly ready to be playable. Even for a closed alpha, like Escape from Tarkov was playable and fun in its closed alpha. This game is not near there yet. Also, a huge problem was that when you leave your vehicle or your hideout or whatever, and then you would log off, get off the server or whatever, you come back the next day, all your shit's gone. It wasn't saving and loading properly, so now they've changed that to where you can leave your gear out as long as like another player doesn't come by and steal your shit, like raid your hideout or whatever. You should be good there. Also, they have done a lot of balancing, so nerfs and buffs to the different hitboxes of your player to make taking damage a little bit more realistic and balanced, so when you get into PvP, and get into firefights with other survivors, it's a lot more consistent. So that's awesome. Along with the new hit detection, there will be changes coming to the medical system and character creation. So this patch is huge. They're going basically over all the aspects of the game. Character creation, the medical setup, vehicles, environments, textures, lighting. Like, they're doing a full revamp, which I think is good because this game, it needs some work. Billy has implemented a new skin shader that is now more realistic than our current implementation. And let's zoom in a little bit. Yeah, you can see the hand model here looks super realistic. You got pores that look like the craters of the moon in this guy's hand. He has got some fat pores on there. But also, if you look at like the weapons textures, it looks really realistic too. You've got scrapes along the aluminum receiver here and scratches in the wood grain on the stock. Looks really cool. You got this nice glossy reflection on this 70-something Firebird over here. Very nice. But yeah, so new textures there. But here, I want to take a quick break to say this. They're focusing a lot of energy, from what it sounds like in this update for the patch, on stuff like making hands realistic and adding a new weapon to the game and stuff. They should be focusing 110% of their efforts on making the game playable, because they had so many bugs and glitches. The shooting wasn't balanced. Bullets would ricochet off surfaces and hit you in the nutsack or take a kneecap. Zombies looked like a fucking joke. They weren't scary. They couldn't even kill you, really. You'd have to stand there and just let them mollywop you for you to die. Like, it was ridiculous. So the game, they need to focus on the actual core gameplay of making this game playable. Work on the root programming before you start worrying about all these cool looking textures and shaders and stuff. I just want to put that out. That's not the main issue with the game. People would play the game in its closed alpha if the hands looked smooth and not detailed, if the game was actually playable. Alright, so they added a new weapon, the 1895 lever action, kind of like the old Winchester, and I think it looks really cool. But again, that hasn't been an issue with the game. The game has a really cool, realistic weapon system, a good selection of weapons, and, you know, much like Escape from Tarkov, it's going to have full weapon modding, different ammunition types. They're not going as detailed with a huge ammo chart and an Excel spreadsheet. You need an engineering degree to know what bullets penetrate what armor. But they will have, you know, full metal jacket, hollow points, buckshot, birdshot, like certain variations of ammunition for different weapons. And yeah, of course the weapons have looked good in this game, but they need to get everything usable and playable. They're adding weapons and skin packs, not making the game usable. Focus on that, please. See right here, this is good stuff. This is what they need to be focusing on. We've taken quite a few measures to fight the hitching and stuttering that players have been experiencing. Yeah, because people are getting frame rate dips, you know, and it's not their PC. People are playing on high-end PCs. The game is not optimized for any hardware right now. Now they're going to talk about some shaders and textures, and this is really cool. This is making the game look prettier, but again, they just need to get their root build, what they have right now currently, smoother and more playable. Get the frame rate consistent, get these bugs and glitches massaged out. Then they can worry about stuff like, you know, adding ambient inclusion and ray tracing and realistic shading and texture packs and stuff like that, and adding new weapons and new armor and character gear and stuff like that, and changing their character creator menu and stuff. That's a side point, boys. Focus on the core gameplay, please. As for the future, 0. I'm just going to call it patch 0. Comes with a lot of changes, but it's only the beginning. I can tell this game is at its beginning phase. Beyond patch 0, there's a swath of improvements that we'll be bringing to the game. Our first major revision, 1.0, just call it patch 1, of the closed alpha will be a massive update to the DM, not direct message, but the DM _ Alberta. That's the main map. We are going to be replacing the height map of the current map to a new height map that mixes procedural this sentence like literally makes no sense. I will have this linked in the description below, as I always do with my sources when covering game news, so you can read this yourself and get nitty-gritty squeeze-a-titty with the patch notes. But I'm covering the whole umbrella, the whole shroud of what these guys are spitballing over here. We are also retooling our lighting system to be a lot more PBR friendly, Pabst Blue Ribbon beer friendly, and also support the ambient inclusion volumes as seen in our previous development vlogs. Buildings will be much darker on the inside and with more consistent lighting than before. Will be a lot more realistic and closely aligned with the original vision that we had for Dead Matter. Yeah, because if you watch the teaser trailers for Dead Matter when it got announced like 3 or 4 years ago, and then watch the gameplay vlogs from like 6 to 8 months ago, it doesn't even look like the same game, unfortunately. There will also be much more space available between major locations in the game, which will give our vehicles much more purpose and allow players to camp in the woods with less risk of encountering a fresh spawn or someone simply traversing the area. So either running into PvE, zombie spawns, or PvP, you are trying to just mind your business, travel and loot, and, escape from Tarkov. Surprise, a Chad pops out and picks you off and takes your shit. But as you see here, yes, the lighting does look great. The shadows, this isn't ray tracing or anything like that, but this is ambient inclusion that makes the interiors look a lot darker and not so whitewashed and unrealistic. But all the game's lighting is getting a buff. All right, so this is a major one here. There's a major revision to the vehicle system that revolves around repairs. In a future update, you will no longer find vehicles in working order and must repair them in order to drive them. We are planning on making more use of the trailer system in the game, so pulling a trailer for more storage space behind your vehicle, as well as allowing players to reinforce and paint their vehicles. So yes, they already mentioned that customizing vehicles was going to be in the game, but I'm not a huge fan of the fact that you have to repair each and every vehicle that you find in the game, because that's not realistic. In a post-apocalyptic scenario, it'll be extremely rare, but you might find a vehicle that's still running. It probably won't be in good condition. It might have cosmetic dents and damages and a cracked windshield, but it could be drivable. But they're going to make every single vehicle that you find need repairs. That doesn't, I don't think that's a good decision. But, and how much of a pain in the ass is it going to be to fix these vehicles? Are you going to have to like scour the map for like spark plugs and, new tires and shit? Or is it just going to be like stand over the hood with, 3 wrenches in your inventory and give it 30 seconds and it's fixed? Like, they don't really go into detail about what the vehicle repairing is going to be like, which I think is important considering now no vehicles are going to be drivable. They're also revising the crafting system because it was extremely confusing in the closed alpha. People had no idea what to craft and how to even use the crafting menu. Did you know you can combine leaves and a stick in order to create a campfire? Or that you can drag scissors onto clothing to more efficiently scissor yourself and slice them into rags? If you did, congratulations. It's pretty damn hard to discover what all the crafting combinations are at the moment. One of the things we're targeting in the 7.0 patch is making crafting more accessible to people that are playing Dead Matter. So crafting system, good. They need to do a revision there. So they've also done away with the claim system where you needed to find a metal claim box on the side of a building in order to claim it as your own hideout or safe house. Now, much like DayZ, you just find any building whatsoever, small or large, whatever, and you barricade the walls, go ahead and slap a padlock or some kind of a lock system on the door, and it is your property. So now you don't have to worry about making sure that it's a building or structure that has a claim box, as a very small percentage of the actual buildings in the environment on the map had a claim box on them. So I think that's a step in the right direction. I'm sure there is going to be some kind of a raid system where you can actually try and take over people's properties and stuff like that. So, maybe picking different levels of locks to try and get in, and then having security systems set up, like maybe a little turret, having to get through their fences. And then obviously if they're actually in the game, in their hideout, you might get into a shootout or something like that. But I think that's pretty cool if they did away with the claim system and are just going with a more traditional, build structures around your setup, slap a lock on there, and it is your building. All right, and now they talk about how the game is indefinitely delayed. It's not going to be able to hit their original early access target for first quarter or beginning of 2021. And I think that's good because I forget what game journalist said this. He said a delayed game will eventually be good. A rushed game is forever terrible. Maybe it was Confucius that said that. Those are great words to live by. In essence, a delayed game will get the bugs and glitches massaged out. Like Cyberpunk was rushed. Yes, it took forever and it was delayed many times, but they still rushed production. And it still shows by the fact that the console versions are like unplayable. And even the PC version from the 10 plus hours I've streamed on Twitch and Facebook Gaming, I encountered a lot of bugs and glitches as well. And this is a AAA title with a massive studio, CD Projekt Red. So the fact that this is just like 4 guys in a basement in Canada somewhere, or soon to be in their new janky office in Calgary, yeah, they're probably going to need more time to make this game playable and not a busted wreck. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for this game. I still think it's going to be awesome whenever it is playable in its closed alpha and then in closed beta, and then it gets open to the public with the actual release of the finished product. I think it's going to be a fun game because the core fundamentals are there. It seems great. Crafting system, wide open world RPG with PvE, PvP, zombies, fighting other players. It just seems cool at its core. I've played trailers in the past where I was commentating over it, and I was tickled in the nether regions. I was very stimulated by watching this gameplay, and I'm stimulated still. Yeah, it's down to like a quarter chub, but I'm still stimulated about this game. So hopefully they get their shit together over there, and this game is an absolute dank banger, as the kids say, when it comes out. That's going to do it, guys. Drop in the comment section below your thoughts on Dead Matter. Do you think it's going to be a stinky stinker that nobody wipes, or is it going to be an absolute shred fest and be one of the best open world zombie games that we've ever seen? Is it going to be standing side by side with Tarkov and other elite milsim shooters? Is it just going to be a dope game in general? Or have you given up on the game? Are you no longer backing it and think it's going to be a shit wagon? That's going to do it, guys. See you in the next video. Peace. Scissor me timbers.